Ne slänger Marie and laid him on the green.
Ron, turn.
Well, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you have ever heard of a Mondegreen before? Anyone? Wow. Well, chances are, I would be willing to bet that you've heard of Mondegreen before, but that you just didn't realize what it was called. Madam Toastmaster, fellow babblers and guests, I'd like to start my speech off today by telling you a story about a Mondegreen that I once came across. It was a weekday afternoon, and my wife and I were driving home from work, and we were listening to the radio like we often do, when suddenly an old Steve Miller Band song came on the air. Well, Sherry and I smiled, and we began singing along. And then the chorus began. And I had my jaw drop as I listened to my dear sweet wife butcher this classic rock song. She sang, "Big hotel in the Lido, don't carry me too far away." Yes, she did. As you may have already guessed, the actual words are, "Big old jet airliner, don't carry me too far away." Frankly, I don't know how a hotel can carry anyone, let alone in a Lido, whatever that is. But hey, this is rock and roll, so anything goes, right? Well, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the perfect example of what they call a Mondegreen. Merriam-Webster defines the Mondegreen as a word or phrase that results from the mishearing of something that is either said or sung. Well, Ron, you might say that's all fine and dandy, but tell me, just how in the world did the Mondegreen get its name? That is a great question. I'm so glad that you asked. You see, ironically, the word Mondegreen is a Mondegreen itself. Allow me to explain. Back in 1954, there was this American writer by the name of Sylvia Wright. Now, she coined the term Mondegreen in an article that she wrote for Harper's Magazine. The title of her article was "The Death of Lady Mondegreen." Now, in this essay she wrote, she explained how when she was a little girl that her mother used to sing old Scottish ballads to her. And one of her favorites was called "The Bonnie Earl of Murray," which Sylvia Wright remembered going something like this. "Ye highlands and ye lowlands, oh where have ye been? They've slain the Earl of Murray and Lady Mondegreen." Now, although this looks perfectly fine and seems to make excellent sense, the actual last line of that ballad should read, "and laid him on the green," not Lady Mondegreen. And thus, the Mondegreen was born. Now, Miss Wright often argued that she thought that the Mondegreens were often funnier and better than the original. And let me tell you, I would have to agree, because since then, there have been some hilarious Mondegreens that have been published. For example, perhaps you've heard of Shirley, Good Mrs. Murphy. Many kids thought that she was going to follow them around all the days of their lives, when actually those children were mishearing Psalm 23, which reads, "Surely goodness and mercy will follow them." Kids, right? Well, although kids have come up with some doozies, and I mean there's a lot of funny ones, my favorites, which I think are the funniest, have to go to good old rock and roll. Yeah, just as my wife butchered that old Steve Miller Band song, many other people have committed similar atrocities to other rock classics. For example, perhaps you've heard of "Slow Motion Walter, the Fire Engine Guy." If I didn't screw up the tune too bad, then you might have recognized Deep Purple's classic song, "Smoke on the Water." Well, the geniuses who thought this was the actual lyric to the song probably also believed that Tom Petty is a Flintstones fan, because when they sang this song by Petty, "With one foot in the grave and one foot on the pedal, I was Barney Rubble." Why in the world would anyone think that Petty was singing about Barney Rubble? I'll never know. But the #1 rock Mondegreen of all time, hands down, has to go to the legendary Jimi Hendrix and his song "Purple Haze," where he sang, "Excuse me while I kiss the sky." Yeah, this Mondegreen, back in the day, when it first came out, thousands upon thousands of people actually thought that Hendrix was singing, "Excuse me while I kiss this guy." It was so popular, as a matter of fact, that Hendrix himself was aware of it. And when he performed Purple Haze live on stage, it was reported that he often joked around acting like he was kissing his bass player, Noel Redding. Well, this is still believed the best Mondegreen in rock of all time, and there's even a website dedicated to it, kissthisguy.com. And ladies and gentlemen, on this website, there's a database, nay, a treasure trove full of rock Mondegreens that you can read through. And yes, yours truly has read through them, and I picked a few of my favorites to share with you today. Like Eddie Money's classic song, "Won't you pack your bags and we'll leave tonight? I've got 2 chickens to paralyze." There's really nothing more I can say about that one. Another favorite of mine is Madonna's "Like a Virgin, touched for the 31st time." It looks more like the million and 31st time. However, probably one of the most bizarre Mondegreens that I read on this site goes to the band REM and their song "Losing My Religion," where some genius actually believed that they were singing, "Let's pee in the corner, let's pee in the spotlight, losing my religion." I can only hope that they'll never karaoke that one in public. Well, listen, I hope that you've enjoyed learning about Mondegreens today. I know that I've had a great time telling you about them, but before I sit down, I'd like to share one last personal Mondegreen story with you. Speaking of losing my religion, I used to attend this church where a song that we sang was, "King Jesus is my captain and he fights for me." Well, imagine my shock when the fellow standing next to me in church was singing, "King Jesus is my captain and he's 5'3". Apparently, even Jesus isn't safe from Mondegreen.